Trump's big beautiful bill gives tax breaks to car buyers. But who really wins? The auto industry just got a political jolt from Capitol Hill. And this time, it's not more mandates or subsidies, it's relief. Well, at least for some. Buried inside the One Big Beautiful Bill Act signed into law on July 4th, 2025 is a new tax deduction that could help American car buyers save thousands in interest. But who really benefits and who gets left behind? So let's break it down. The new law allows buyers to deduct up to $10,000 in interest on auto loans for vehicles purchased between 2025 and 2028. Now, that sounds great, especially in an era of soaring car prices that are up 7 to 10%, and loan rates, well, they're up too. But this is Washington, so there are strings attached. To qualify, your vehicle must be new, not used, under 14,000 pounds, and assembled in the United States. In other words, this isn't a universal benefit for all brands. It's a targeted incentive aimed at steering consumers toward U.S. assembled cars, trucks, vans, motorcycles, and SUVs. And that aligns with the broader goals of the One Big Beautiful Bill. Rebuild domestic manufacturing, reward work, and reshape consumer behavior. This might help, and the IRS will be keeping tabs. Of course they will. They got to do something. But buyers must list their vehicle's identification number, or VIN, on their tax return to claim the deduction. The IRS is expected to publish a list of eligible vehicles similar to how the EV tax credits were handled. And this is something that could be a benefit to many people. Good for Detroit and good for jobs. From a manufacturing standpoint, this is a smart move. It encourages consumers to buy vehicles built on U.S. soil and supports the jobs behind them. Companies like Ford, GM, Tesla, Honda, and Toyota, as well as others who all operate U.S. assembly plants here in the U.S., stand to benefit most. And it may even prompt more foreign automakers to expand U.S. operations to qualify their vehicles. That would be very helpful. This is a win for American workers. The final assembly requirement means that where the vehicle is physically completed uses the same logic as the American Automobile Labeling Act, which requires transparency on where the vehicle is built. And you can find that on the window sticker, also known as a Monroney, all the information that you need. Expect dealers to start highlighting which models qualify because they need the sales. But that's where the consensus ends. Who really saves? Follow the money, as I always say. On paper, up to $10,000 in interest deductions sounds massive. But the actual benefit depends on how much you borrow and your income level. According to IRS rules, the deduction phases out for higher earners. Singles earning over $100,000 and joint filers earning over $200,000 see the deduction reduced by $200 for every $1,000 above the thresholds. I know, it gets complicated. That's where an accountant comes in. You should sit down and figure that out before you jump on board with this. Even more critically, the average car loan in 2025 sits around $43,000. With current interest rates, the average deduction will translate into $400 to $600 in annual tax savings for most buyers. Modest relief, but it's not a game changer. And yes, it helps middle-class Americans, but it primarily benefits those in the 22% to 24% tax brackets who finance new U.S. assembled vehicles. In other words, not the working families who buy used cars or budget-friendly imports. And that's where the plan hits its limits. Used car lots are left out, and so are budget buyers. Here's the catch. Because used vehicles don't qualify. That's a huge exclusion. And in 2024, 80% of vehicles under $30,000 were imported or sold used. And that's what many working class families can afford. And they're left out with nothing on this bill. That's disappointing, and we're hoping that they can go back and add something for used car buyers in the future, because that's where 80% of the cars are being sold. So while the policy supports domestic manufacturing, it also widens the affordability gap. Lower income Americans who disproportionately rely on used or imported models are excluded entirely from this deduction. And if you're buying a gently used Toyota Corolla or a 3-year-old Hyundai, you're out of luck. And if you're stretching your budget to buy a new Ford Explorer built in Chicago, the deduction is yours. Not all of us could do that. This provision also serves As a broader strategic purpose, it complements the Trump administration's 25% tariff on imported cars and parts, designed to push both production and consumption back onto American soil. Those tariffs have already increased the price of imported vehicles somewhere between $2,000 and $5,000 in some segments, and in others, there's no change at all, and some brands have decided to absorb that difference. So you have to do your shopping and, of course, do your homework. This deduction won't completely cancel out those tariffs, but it softens the blow for buyers who buy American, and that's a politically savvy trade-off. And unlike previous policies that poured subsidies into electric vehicles and foreign supply chains, this law picks up a different winner: U.S.-assembled gas-powered vehicles. In fact, the One Big Beautiful Bill eliminates the EV tax credits entirely. So if you want an electric vehicle, you better get one before the end of September, because that tax credit disappears. And that's a bold shift, and one that's likely to realign consumer preference for the years ahead. So what about Tesla, you ask? Ironically, Tesla stands to benefit despite the EV tax credit rollback that he was complaining about. With major U.S. production in California, Texas, and Nevada, Tesla's vehicles still qualify for the new deduction. That gives the company a competitive edge over EV rivals like Hyundai, which is number 2 in electric vehicles, Kia, and Volkswagen, which rely more heavily on overseas production. In essence, the One Big Beautiful Bill removes the green subsidies, but rewards companies that build here, even if they're making electric vehicles. So that's good news for Tesla and for those people interested, and less for foreign EV makers. Now, will this drive sales? Not likely, despite the attention this deduction is getting, because it's not getting as much as we're giving it. It's unlikely to move the sales needle in a major way, at least not yet. The average buyer might save a few $100s a year, but that may not be enough to sway a purchasing decision in a market shaped with potentially more tariffs, inflation, hopefully that'll stay low like it has been, and interest rates, which desperately need to drop, and of course those lovely tax codes, which we're all still fighting to remove some of them so that we can actually use the money that we make to buy the things that we need. Consumers still face high sticker prices, limited inventory, and rising loan payments. A modest deduction won't erase those headwinds. So here's the final take. A smart policy with clear limits would help everyone. The car loan interest deduction in the Big Beautiful Bill is a strategic, targeted win for domestic automakers and assembly workers. It rewards American manufacturing, encourages consumers to buy American, and aligns with broader trade and industrial policy goals. But it doesn't solve the affordability, and it leaves behind millions of Americans who buy used cars or imported vehicles. It's a clever incentive, not a transformative one. Like much of the One Big Beautiful Bill, this provision is designed to reshape the market by rewarding specific behaviors. Build in America, buy new, and stay within certain income thresholds. It's a welcome change from the policies that have favored green tech, global supply chains, and loss of jobs. But if lawmakers want to deliver a real relief for everyday drivers, they'll need to address the root problems of rising car costs, high interest rates, and a regulatory landscape that still favors complexity over clarity. Until then, the road to real reform remains under construction, and we'll be watching and reporting. If you like this video, give it a like and subscribe for more videos like this, and check out our car review channel, Car Smarts. You can support me by buying me a cup of coffee, and if you want even more content, check out the links in the description. I'm Lauren Fix. Thank you so much for watching.